Hey YouTube, back when I was making my black cup of tea, okay, I discovered that when I used the mold release on the cup here, the plastic would just tip straight out. And I thought, because I haven't had that happen with any of the steel molds that I've got or any of the other molds. So I thought, let's try a glass baking dish and we'll see how that goes. All we do is we just use the same mold release we used on the black cup of tea plastic. Just give it a spray. And this time, instead of using the lids, we'll just use milk bottles. Throw them in, put it in the oven, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, the oven's on. All we now need to do is fill the container. What we got to do is just, when we go through our pieces, just vet to make sure there's no marks on them. See, like that one there has a mark on, so we don't want to put that in. So all you do is you cut that mark off, then you can just throw that bit away, or if you want to, you can clean it. These bits all have been cleaned before. It's always good just to double check. Oh, missed. That's where a bigger container you can just throw in the bigger bits. Don't have to worry about cutting them up any smaller. The smaller bits are good for the smaller containers. Yeah, so I think we're all pretty much good there. Okay, we're out of plastic there. Eh? Okay, what we can do is we can either start putting our billets in, or we can go to we can make a new pile of plastic to put in. So we're going to make a new pile of plastic to put in. In another video I made just before, I've washed these milk bottles. Okay, now we're going to cut them up into a size that we can use into this container. Basically, first of all, what we want to do is we want to cut the label out. Alright, that's the label cut off. Okay, now what you have to watch is if there's any glue marks from the label. If there are any glue marks from the label, we can't have the glue marks. We don't want the glue marks going into the plastic. So, okay, so that bit's good. There's a tiny bit of glue marks here. Okay, so what we want to, the best bit is just not to use this bit. Okay. Then put all this stuff here we can use. Like I said, depending on our container, we can either chuck that whole thing in the container, but since since we really don't know what sort of container we're going to use, we'll just cut it up into big chunks at the moment. Alright, here's the label. Cut the label off. Alright, pull the label off. And we have a look. Okay, that looks fine there. It's only the bottom bit here has the thing, so we'll just cut that off and put that aside. And throw that in our bin. Cut, throw. And with the newer, these days, the milk bottles, they've got a pull tab. You got to watch the pull tabs, because sometimes they leave residue on the front of the top of the milk bottle container. Alright. So once we've previously pulled the label off, just check to make sure about the sticker. If it doesn't look like there's any problem, then you could just cut it up. Just watch your fingers. The knives are rather sharp. We're just putting that in our container. I have a big bag of these just down to my right. So all I do is just work on this while the oven's melting away. Oven will take a while to do. Alright. Okay, this one here, we've got glue here, and this is obviously glued on. Okay, so with this one here, all we do is we pull that off and we put that aside. Alright, so my daughter in the background calling out Peppa Pig. This is quite boring, watching someone cut milk bottles up. So I will talk to you later. Okay, we've put it in the oven and we've just taken it out of the oven. It started to melt around here, as you can see. It's reduced in volume. Right, so all we do is we just put some of these bits in. The good thing with the bigger, like I said, the good thing with the bigger container is that you don't have to cut your plastic up as much into smaller chunks. We do put that back in the oven. As long as we can go as high as the grill element, and we don't want to go higher than that, otherwise it'll burn. My first melt with the this Pyrex dish worked pretty good. Used the I sprayed the mould release. This one here. This worked quite alright. I can lift it straight out, so it's pretty good. Anyhow, I stopped this one because I had set my oven on 180 degrees. It could have been a tad higher, I'm not sure, but I started to get the baconing effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another melt with this here, or basically we can just cut that off, so that's not a problem. When we're using it, we'll just like face it, skim it, whatever. That's only just surface there. Yeah, so there you go. That worked a treat. but it did shrink a fair bit. It was filling the whole mould. So if you're wanting to create a part, ideally you have to make your part bigger, then allow for the shrinkage factor, then it'll shrink down to the size that you want. Yes, it's quite a big shrinkage factor. The bigger the part, the more shrinkage factor you've got, and the smaller the part, it'd be the smaller the shrinkage factor. Okay, so successful test of the glass Pyrex dish. Right, there. Okay, just taking it out of the mould now. It's nice and cool. Looks pretty good. You know, what we're interested in is the final, how the glass bowl, glass dish goes at cleaning up compared to some of the other the metal containers. Basically, the plastic just comes straight off. Doesn't really have a chance to stick too much, and if there is any of the residue that's a little bit hard to get off, we'll just hit it with the green emery sponge. That should come straight off. Just wipes out alright, so that's pretty cool. The only problem is it could be just a limited use, how we can use the glass baking dish. We can put a bit of pressure on it, but I don't think we'd like to put a lot of pressure on it, like put it underneath the press or anything like that, because it'd just crack. But you'd be able to put some pressure on it, so I mean, flat ways straight down on top like that, you should be able to put some pressure on it before it even like shatters. Yeah. You know, go down to your local $2 store. Might cost you $4 for a dish this size. Give it a try. See ya.